Welcome back. Today I want to talk about dyslexia because there's a wonderful solution for dyslexia when it comes to neurolinguistic programming. And it has to do with how our brain organizes information. And you can see it in someone's eyes when you're watching them. So when you learn this, you can stare at other people as they're talking to you, and you can look and see where they're accessing information. Where do their eyes go? And it's very, very interesting. You have to be very present because it will happen really, really fast. It can happen like that, not even, it can happen like that really, really quick. They look up to one side or they look up to the other side. They look down or they look down very, very quickly. And this is going to tie into yoga as well because there's, of course, a very interesting correlation between the eye accessing chart in neurolinguistic programming and Shambhavi Mudra. So we're going to take a look at that today. So this is the eye accessing chart. And what it's showing is that the top part is the visual field. And so when your eyes look up and to the left or up and to the right, you are accessing pictures. You are accessing visual information inside of your brain. And the middle part is the audio. So when you look directly to the left or directly to the right, while you're talking to somebody or while you're thinking, you are accessing sounds. Maybe the sound of your mother's voice, maybe the sound of your cat or the sound of your dog. And down below is where we either access feelings that we have felt, like walking on the beach or the feeling of bark, those kind of memories of feeling, and where we access how we feel about things. This is where we do it in the kinesthetic, and then also the auditory digital, which means words or lyrics or a poem or a quote. All of that information is in the auditory digital. So when we're talking to ourselves, so if you ask somebody a question and they're looking down, they could be either accessing how they feel about something that you asked them, or they could be accessing self-talk. They can be talking to themselves about answering your question and preparing an answer. And so all of this is very, very fascinating. But we're going to look specifically today at the visual field at that top. And so when you're looking up either to the left or the right, you are accessing pictures that you have seen before or pictures that you are creating. And so one of those fields is creative and one of them is remembered. And so to figure out which side you are, because some people are flipped. The way the chart is organized is how most people are as you look at them. But some of us are flipped, which means we are the opposite. Our nerves are just a little bit the other way. And so you don't know every time you're staring at somebody exactly where their visual recall is, and so you have to figure it out. So the easy question to ask is, what did you have for breakfast 2 days ago? And when you look up to access that information, well, then you know that is where your visual recall is. And if you didn't notice it that first time, well, that's okay. What did you have for breakfast a week ago? And where do your eyes go? Do you go to look somewhere for that information? And if you go up to one corner or the other and you keep testing it, keep trying to remember, what was the very first bike that you had? What color was it? And when you go up to access that information, whether it's to the right or for the left for you, that is your visual recall. And so you just take this chart, and if you need to, you flip it, or you just look at it directly, and you can understand where your visual recall is. And that's what we need to know for dyslexia. Because written language is a visual recall system, but we don't teach it that way. Nobody ever sat you down and explained, well, I'm here to tell you that the language that you are learning, whatever language it is, as we write it, This is purely a visual recall system. Nobody ever told you that, right? Because nobody teaches language inside neurolinguistic programming. So once you know that it's a visual recall, what does that mean, Forrest? I don't understand what that means. Well, what it means is that you don't make it up every single time that you write. You simply remember a set way that an A will always be an A B will always be a B, all these letters and numbers, by the way, will always be the same. We might vary how we write them, but they have a set standard, right? And if it's not close enough, nobody knows what you're going to be saying. So it has to be a set way, and that set way is programmed into your mind, into your visual recall remembrance, and then you're able to access it. And so what's happening in dyslexia usually, and I find this over and over again, is that the person is actually very creative. And so they'll take a picture that they have remembered and they'll turn it into something new. So here's an example of that. Do you remember the very first bike that you ever rode as a kid? Oh my God, I remember. What color was it? Well, it was blue. Okay, so for me. And so now I want you to imagine that very first bike, whatever color it was, and I want you to put pink polka dots on it. And where did you look to do that? So take the very first bike that you ever rode, or maybe the very first car that you ever drove, and whatever color it was, remember that. And then I want you to imagine that you were painting pink polka dots on that car or that bike. And where did you do that? You did it in the visual construct. So it will be the opposite of whatever visual recall center you noticed. So if you accessed your visual recall one way, you'll notice that you'll visual create on the other side. And it might be very fast. And by the way, if you're watching somebody and they don't look, it's because they're dilating their eyes in order to access the information. Or they have a rule that they will not look while they're talking to somebody. They won't. So as a kid, they were told, you look at me while I'm talking to you, right? And so they won't easily let themselves look away from you. So you have to tell them, it's okay to go ahead and look away from me. You can do that. And then you can kind of slow down the process, and you can figure out which is the visual recall and which is the visual construct, because that's everything that you need to know for dyslexia. And so this person that has been diagnosed with dyslexia will almost always be very, very good at visual construct. So they're taking a picture and then they're turning it into something new. So very creative people, very smart, very intelligent, and very creative people. And what you have to do to reverse this dyslexia is to get them to understand and do it on purpose that English or whatever language you're using is a visual recall system only. And so when you're reading a book, so if you're trying to do this, whenever you read a book, I want you to put it up in that space. If this is your visual recall, every time you read a book, I want you to put it like this. You don't have to hold it. You can look down like this. You can look down like this, but I want you looking at this angle every single time you read a book. So that's for reading. And then the next step is to pick about 20 basic words, not long words, just easy, short, medium-sized words. Pick about 20, pick about 40, pick about 50, and write them on flashcards, all right? And then I want you to take those flashcards one by one and put them in that visual recall. Now, if your visual recall is over here, then you put them over here. If your visual recall is over here, then you put it up there. Whatever side, that's why you got to figure it out. Which side is my visual recall? So you just ask that question, what did I eat for breakfast? Or what was my first bike? Or what was my first car? What color was it? And once you figure it out, that's your visual recall. And then you put the flashcards up there. And when you're looking at the word, don't spell it out. I want you to look at the whole shape of the word. Make sure it's correct before you do this, okay? and look at the whole shape of the word. Make it nice and big and easy to see, and put it up on the visual recall. And I want you to memorize the shape of the word. Don't worry about spelling it out. I just want you to memorize the whole shape. If it's thin and wiry, if it's got lots of points coming up, however the shape is, I want you to memorize that shape, okay? And then take it down, look at the next one, memorize the shape. Say the word and memorize the shape. Take it down, put the next one up. Say the word, memorize the shape, okay? And just keep doing that every day. And at some point, this is going to integrate into your subconscious mind. Your subconscious and your unconscious mind are going to get it. And once you get it, it's going to start to stick. And your brain is going to figure out, oh my God, when I'm doing language, I only do language and I don't do this creative stuff that I love to do. Because I love to do it. I love to create. It's great. But in language, we just want the language because we want language to be dumb and simple. We want to communicate effectively and be done with it. So we can get on to the fun, creative stuff, you see? So language is stupid so that we can be creative later. And this is the idea that we want to soak into the subconscious and the unconscious mind. And that will reverse dyslexia. It will reverse the problem, you see? It's an organization problem and it's an affinity problem. The affinity is with being fun and creative. But language is stupid and easy so that everybody can use it. And then you can move on and be more fun and creative, you see? Really easy, really beautiful. It works. It works. It's so wonderful, okay? So those are the two things to do to really reverse this and let your unconscious mind grok this understanding of what language is. It's a visual recall system. And once you know that, once your subconscious mind knows that, you will get language. It's easy, okay? So there you go. That's dyslexia. So how does this tie into meditation? How does this tie into Shambhavi Mudra? Well, Shambhavi Mudra is very simple. You just look up, don't you? That's it. That's Shambhavi Mudra. But then you do it the whole time that you're meditating, right? And so that's where it becomes a little more demanding, that we're not just looking up once, but we're looking up the entire time that we meditate. And it's without strain. If you're straining in Shambhavi Mudra, you're not doing it right. It should be simple and easy. And when it really, really happens, you'll have a drawing sensation, and it will actually suck your eyes up. You might feel a little of that. You might feel a lot of that. But that's the real thing when that happens, okay? But just looking up stimulates the alpha brainwave. So let's try that like 5 times, okay? Let's look up. Okay, look down, look up, look down, look up, look up, and look up. Do you feel it it's kind of settling your brain a little bit because it's sucking you into the alpha brainwave very beautifully. It's a great setup right before you begin to meditate. Just look up, look up, look up, look up, look up. Just like that. And you'll feel it. It might make you feel a little fuzzy. That's the alpha brainwave. It's a beautiful, beautiful thing. And so when we look up like that, we're stimulating that. And you see that we're in the center. We're looking in the center. So we're not looking into visual recall, and we're not looking into visual construct. We're actually stimulating the whole field by looking directly in between and then dilating the eyes if we've learned to do that. You know, I've been dilating my eyes so long that I forget that I say dilate your eyes, and people are like, do you mean just kind of open my peripheral vision? Yes, I mean open your peripheral vision. When you open your peripheral vision, you are dilating your eyes. And I've been doing it so long I forget that people don't know how to just dilate your eyes. How do I do that? So you just look at one point and you become aware of everything in you, all the way as far as you can in your peripheral vision. So how do you do that? Here's an easy exercise. Take your fingers and follow them as far back as you can on either side. You can stretch your arms out all the way, but I want you to see what I'm doing. You want to follow your fingers as far to the side as you can. You just keep going, holding them in your perception while you're looking straight forward. And that will open up your peripheral vision. It's a great exercise to really open up your peripheral vision. And so then do that while you're looking up. So you're entering the alpha brainwave and you're entering into the peripheral vision, dilating your eyes. So what I'm asking you to do is a lot, right? But I'm asking you to do it because it's extremely powerful. And you'll feel it. We're accessing the visual field. And so where is the land of images in the brain? It's the right hippocampus. That's where all the images are held. So by accessing the visual field in Shambhavi Mudra, we are inducing the right hippocampus. Oh my God. Isn't that amazing? That's what Shambhavi Mudra is all about. Accessing the right hippocampus. So there you go. Now we have reversed dyslexia and we've solved the riddle of Shambhavi Mudra. What is it really doing? We are inducing the right hippocampus. So I hope you loved this. If you did, be sure to hit that bell down below so I can see all of you next time.